companies that are gonna pick up those for. Are we online?
Yep.
Okay. Let's call the meeting to order. For February OSAC meeting and start with roll call.
Okay, roll call. Okay, roll call. We have Amber Greaves here, Christy Verbeck.
She sent an email this afternoon. She's got a meeting that'll go till 6:45.
Oh,
If it wraps up in time, she's gonna try to
Join online.
She may join.
Okay,
Yeah.
she may join. Okay. Gordon Sims.
Yeah.
Joanne Manieri, see her here. Kara Noisy, also online.
I'm here.
Thank you. Michael McDonald,
Yes, here.
Rita Trainer,
present.
Todd Gleason.
Here. Okay, and Kara, where is here?
I'm at
We're all
Pueblo
in
State Park.
Jeremy, pardon me?
Pueblo State Park. Lake Pueblo.
Lake Pueblo.
All right.
It's like we just cut the sunset for you.
Yeah. Okay, and Mike and Leslie are online. Let's do approval agenda or agenda approval. Do you have anything to add or modify? Yeah, you'll note I shuffled things around a little bit relative to past agendas, since it always seemed confusing as to whether people were offering their updates at the end or not. So I moved standing updates before roundtable discussion, so there might be a bit more organized. We'll give it a try. We can always change back. So do I hear a motion to approve the agenda?
So
Okay, second. Yeah. Great. No discussion. Those in favor? Okay. This is time on the agenda for comment from the public. An opportunity to share thoughts, concerns. Like OSAC to attend to in the future. Comments are limited to 5 minutes. We have no one here physically present. We have anybody on the line that would like to speak?
we have one person. But it depends if she would like to speak.
Elizabeth. Yes. Elizabeth, are you trying to? No. Okay. Hearing no comment, we'll move on to staff and council updates. Leslie, you want to start?
Sure, I can get us started. I'm going to breeze through these just because I know you all have a very full agenda tonight. So as folks have noticed, the goats have moved to Harney-Listoka. That has been approved as a Boulder County grant funded site in addition to the other sites. So that's always exciting. They will move on to Vista Corridor when they're done at Harney-Listoka. The prairie dog issue along McCaslin, I did meet with Misty Drake from Drake Conservation. We met out there and kind of observed what was happening. She put together a report, which I just got today. I'm happy to pass that on, but she's recommending a passive approach that will start with containment and then move into basically trying to herd herd the dogs in the other direction. But first of all, we're going to probably work on some kind of containment, which might look like temporary fencing, silt fencing, something like that to keep them from crossing the road. And then work towards altering their migration direction. So she's going to help us with that. She brought a lot of expertise to the table and kind of explained how this works in other areas and the successes she's had. So that was a great contact. Thank you, Amber, for that.
Leslie, would you send that report on to Amber and we'll follow up if necessary in March?
Absolutely.
Okay.
The Colson property purchase is on the council agenda for February 23rd with a scheduled closing date for the 25th. So that project is moving forward, which is very exciting. And just as a reminder, that is a partnership with Mile High Flood District. So they are funding the portion of the property that is in the floodplain, which is 66.6%, which is fabulous. I also had a meeting with Mile High Flood District today to talk about a variety of things. But I did get an update on their vegetative plan that they're putting together. They are going to kick that off in May with a site visit. So I'll let you know when that date is, but that'll be more of a kind of just boots on the ground, looking at the locations, the current conditions, and looking at recommendations, which will come out of the observations they make. Tracy Bain got her proclamation from council on Monday, so for her service on OSAC, which was great. Glad that she was recognized for that. And then Pari might talk about this a little bit more, but we did have a meeting with Friends of Coal Creek and a lot of discussion about just streams and waterways and stream health and what people are doing along specifically Coal Creek, but that was very informative. And it might be an opportunity to have OSAC get a little bit more involved down the road. And I think that's all I have.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry.
I'll try to make this quick. So, just a quick update on Boulder County Youth Corps. We are good in getting a team for this summer. So we just have a sponsor breakfast later in mid-May, to attend where they, kind of orientation.
Are they selected at that point?
No, they do all of it in-house, like with the team that they hire, and this is just for the sponsors who hire either a team for like different municipalities, yeah. So it's just for the sponsors and like what to expect from the season and things like that, and how to reach out if you need, help or those things. And so we are good with that moving forward. Leslie kind of covered a little bit on Friends of Coal Creek. It was a good opportunity to meet. We met last year, so this was our second time meeting. We meet once a year, just on different projects along Coal Creek, all the way west, all the way down to the urban areas. So there was Erie was there, Lafayette, Jeffco, and City of Boulder. So it's good to see like what type of projects everybody was working on, because it does continue and trickle down as it goes. And Coal Creek, I think it's about 29 or 30 miles of the creek, so it stretches pretty far. And they were just talking about like different restoration projects, wildlife projects, what they're doing, wildlife surveys, things like that. So that one was a really informative meeting. The seasonal post for the seasonal open space ranger. Posting just went up a couple days ago. So if you know anybody who are good candidates who will work well under me, I will be very bossy, but we'll get things done. We have a lot of things to do. So I'm looking forward to that. And then as soon after a certain time frame, we'll do the interviews, and then hopefully they will start by March. That's the goal.
What are the qualifications? Minimum qualifications?
I don't remember everything from the top of my head. It's very extensive, but most of it is most of the duties that they will have is on the ground work. So I know that I do a lot of the admin work too, but doing things with like volunteers, like different projects to help lead and assist with that. So a lot of volunteer work, volunteer support. They will help with the youth corps group as well, like to help supervise that. Things like that. And a lot of projects that I have put in the back burner because I don't have the time to do it, so I'm trying to, hopefully this person can help, get those things started so we can get the momentum going. But their season is from March to October. And it's not full-time like a regular seasonal, it will vary from 20 to 40 hours due to our budget. So it depends on like the busy summer seasons, it would be like 40 hours a week, things like that. But that one is a go.
Good.
And nothing for programs. No updates for National Trails Day, really, still kind of the same. Bird Day, no big updates. I did have a talk with, I ran into Boulder County Animal Protection today, and we had a really good conversation on dogs and just how they've been getting a lot of calls for dogs off leash. We know that that's been an ongoing issue, and dogs off leash or dog bites, things like anything dog related. So she was like giving me an example, like last week when they came patrol on the Saturday, they wrote 4 citations for people only in community park. Because everybody just had their dogs off leash, so they had to cite everybody. So she just was expressing her concerns to me, like, is this an ongoing? I'm like, yes, it is, and it's not just here. So they're trying to take the hot spots. Coyote Ridge is a big hot spot where I get a lot of complaints from there. Autry Park, dog park in downtown is starting to, I've heard a couple things of that, people just letting them, roam around, not in the dog park, but outside the dog park, yes. The dog park is fine, obviously, but just around, so they are trying to increase patrol and just to touch base with people and also, education. We do our best to educate people through different means of education outreach, our events, the communications we send out in different platforms, but
Who's doing the patrol?
I'm sorry?
Who is it that's doing the patrol?
Boulder County Animal Protection.
Oh,
Yeah, so they work under the sheriff's department of the county. So they were just expressing concerns of those calls like ramping up, and they can only anticipate in the summer it will get worse. Last summer it was really bad, I got a lot. And so to have their support means a lot to me because it kind of, it nips it. And they were just sharing the concerns about it and how we can do what we can do to support each other. So I was just explaining to her, like, we do a lot of the education outreach, but we don't have that enforcement piece. So for them to complete that process, that's really helpful. But they have talked to a lot of residents, warnings, a lot of warnings and stuff. So I think it's starting to get worse.
Should we request a communication through the town?
To send out?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I already did today. Yeah, we have one coming up from Hello Superior already. We always try to put in like every issue somehow, like reminding people like, hey, these are the reasons why your dog should be on leash, wildlife encounters, all of this stuff, giving them the why. And we had a complaint from a resident just yesterday too, same thing, a lot of dog encounters and jumping on elderly people who are vulnerable and they can fall, and it just keeps ramping up. So it becomes a safety issue through my eyes. And so it was good to have that conversation to see where we stand and how they can support us as a town. So we're not forgotten.
Yes. What is the fine?
I don't know how much it is.
Anybody want to confess to
Does anyone?
earned one?
With Boulder, if they are doing the same system as like Boulder County Parks and Open Space, if it's the same ordinances, when I was there a couple of years ago, it was $110.
So
Our cheapest fine's 140, so
Yeah,
yeah.
For findings.
I was-
It's like a dog.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
believe that if they are cited, the judge actually can set the amount and there's a range in there, but if they're repeat offenders, I think it can get quite high. So
Yeah.
the first offense might be pretty low, but if they're repeat offenders, I think there's some desire to have that be penalized greater.
because they do give verbal warnings, every contact they make, they have to document. So whether the verbal or written warning, they document everything in their system. And if it's the same offender, they pull it up and they know who it is. So that's where, yeah, I think, and I don't know the exact price range, but it does, like, if it's a repeat offender, it gets worse and worse. And they can always attest to it, you know, they can go to court if they want to, but most people, I think, just, they pay it and they get it done. But, I just want to put that on everybody's radar because of, yeah, that issue is just, it's just ongoing and it's, getting worse.
Okay.
That's it.
Actually, question on youth court, is the work already figured out, like how they'll be assigned, or is it just they come to do whatever work?
I am not there yet. Yeah.
I was just curious.
Yeah, yeah.
You already have work designated for that team, or if it's just?
I have a long list of things for them and it's just a matter of like, they give me their calendar basically. I don't think they have it on me, but they give me like their season calendar and I have to map it out. So once they send what they call like the agreement, the IGA, like the agreement, and we send it to council, it's approved. That's when we can move forward with the next steps. And I meet with their team individually. They check with each sponsor and say, what are the projects? I fill out all the paperwork and say, hey, this project might take 1 week to do or something like that. So we kind of ballpark it, but we're not at that stage just yet.
Okay.
Yeah, but we do have a long list.
Yeah,
As
just
we
curious
go.
how that works.
Yeah.
Good.
And that's it.
Okay. Mike, what's happening on council?
Well, this past Monday, the council approved an agreement with an organization called Streetwise Art, and they're going to be doing a mural fest in spaces in downtown on October 4th, and that's going to be in conjunction with Fall Fest. So there's going to be a lot of really cool new murals in downtown. There's going to be a mural on the breezeway in between the parking garage and the civic space. The restroom that's down there kind of off of Marshall Road near the park, underneath the Marshall Road overpass, and then underneath the park, the concrete benches, and then underneath the stage in downtown. So it's going to be a really cool thing that's going to hopefully help activate the downtown and hopefully make Superior a little bit more attractive for Sundance, to say, yeah, let's go do a couple of events in Superior because we think it's a cool place and they've got lots of cool art going on. So pretty exciting stuff. And I know Leslie and her team have been working really hard to pull that all together in conjunction with OSAC. So very exciting stuff there. And then on Monday, we also had the first reading of the comprehensive plan. And since it was the first reading, we didn't approve anything. Got a lot of public comment and feedback, a lot of residents from Sagamore concerned about development specifically around the 76th Street property and potential egress during emergencies if you know there's another 350 multi-unit homes there. So if you have comments or observations or thoughts on the comprehensive plan, please be sure to email the council before our next reading, which will be on the 23rd of February. We'll go from there. So those are kind of the big happenings from Monday.
Could you, if you're aware of the detail, could you summarize the town 15 position in the comprehensive plan? I found it a little ambiguous. How do you see it?
It's most of the undeveloped parcels in town are really unchanged from the 2012 comp plan. So it still contemplates the potential of kind of the civic recreation. So kind of a library, community center, ball field. There's also the potential for single family development. So it kind of runs the range. And that's the same is true for the Resolute property and again 76th Street and Zaharias. So they're very similar to what was in the 2012 comp plan. Just I think staff and the planning commission have done a little bit more fine tuning based on some of the feedback that we heard from the community meetings over the last 18 months or so. Some of the maybe the densities have been reduced just a hair as a result of that. But it's really, you're welcome. And you know, the thing with the comp plan is it's not saying we are going to build this thing that's described as an opportunity area. It's just giving options for developers to put proposals forward that would run the normal course of public input. So, you know, community, they'd have to submit a development proposal to the planning department, and then that would, you know, trigger public meetings and input sessions and feedback sessions, and then would have to go to the planning commission, and there'd be, you know, public meetings and public hearings, and then eventually the town council. So there's a lot of steps between when a developer submits an idea to when it actually gets before the town council for consideration. Again, just because it says residential, it's 6 units to 25 units per acre, doesn't mean that that's what a developer is going to submit. They could say, well, we want to build commercial here. And the town could say, well, it's not zoned commercial. So what we're going to have to do is go through a rezoning process, which is its own public process. So again, it's just presenting options and providing opportunities for developers to submit proposals to the town. And at the end of the day, the planning department can say, no, this is not consistent with our planning guidelines. The planning commission can say no, and the council can say no. So there's a lot of safety stops along the way.
Thanks. Questions, anyone? Okay. Lori, you had introduced
Yeah.
Cass and tear up for a presentation.
Sure, we have joining us DPW officer, well, district wildlife manager, Cass Penn, to join us and just to answer any questions wildlife related, how we talked about like how we can support one another, and just to kind of bridge that gap. We just want to develop a good relationship with, you know, our state.
Yeah. Do I need to move or is this?
No, that's fine.
Text me.
Yeah.
Should I run around? Yeah, no, thanks for having me here. This is cool. And I think this is awesome that you guys do this. I'll kind of briefly go over like what I do, who I am, and what's going on, and then what's going on with DPW as it involves people. So our area, and you've gotten to hear all about this, we've been there's a lot of movement going around the state with new job positions. We never had a wolf team, we have that now. You know, and then there's all these new Senate bills getting passed and stuff. So even within our area, we've had people promoting. You guys had Sam Peterson, and I guess me too, splitting this, and he promoted, which is great for him. And I got moved up to Loveland, but I'm hoping to help you all out in whatever way I can. And then once you all get a new officer coming probably at the end of the year, I'll make sure the introductions are all done and stuff. But until then, like, feel free to use me in whatever way you can. If I don't answer my phone, call at least a few more times. If I don't answer, then I am busy, and I gave you all the contact info. And it's kind of cool. We have an on-call officer who's pretty much on from midnight to midnight that could help with any wildlife issue. It can literally be anything that's going on. I always love when people are like, this is a silly question. I'm like, it's probably not. I've heard the weirdest things about what critters can do. So yeah, like, I guess how I explain to people is, like, I am now the official Loveland officer, but I was covering Erie, but that wasn't just the town of Erie. That was Broomfield, Lafayette, Louisville, Longmont. And when I'm on call from day to day, and me and my coworkers, we essentially cover what we call Area 2, which is from Fort Collins down to Broomfield. It's kind of our north-south boundary, so that includes you all, and then our east to west is the divide. So we have chunks of Rocky Mountain, we have, you know, what's west of Netherlands, and then we go all the way to Fort Morgan. So with that being said, we call the on-call officer, we might be, you know, out in like Fort Collins or Kingsburg, you know, but we'll make it a priority to come and help with whatever we can, or at least give you the advice until we can get there. And you mentioned working with like older animal protection. We work with them too, and they're awesome. But it's cool looking at your list, because a lot of the things you all have on here are things I like have a passion about, with like raptor monitoring, and there's been a lot of coyote conflict this year and stuff, so I always love talking about that, because different towns can get different ideas. We all do it a little differently. We all encounter similar but different problems. So I guess, yeah, I just want to mostly introduce me, and then yeah, see how we can help each other. If you guys have any burning wildlife questions for me, I think they be answered.
I have a general question. So if we thought that we would want to contact you, do we work through PARI to do that? Is that like the way that it should kind of work?
Yeah.
Just curious how that.
As far as like you all being the committee and stuff, or just a general?
Well, just in general, if there's like something where someone thinks about what should call Colorado Parks.
Yeah, no, that's a good
Should they
question.
go
I
through?
should have said it. Yeah, so if you don't have like a lot of the times when people like me come into their towns, they'll start passing out business cards like candy. So if you have your local officer, and I can leave my card too, I'm more than happy to do that. Give them a holler first. I just might be pulled in a few different directions right now, because I'm trying to kind of cover this area and Loveland. So right now I'm like, I'll help you with fishing clinics and whatever, but I might not be able to come here and there. But I would always say call your local officer first. Just because they have the best knowledge of that area too. We're usually involved in so much that's like the expert. At least that's what they tell us we should be. I'm like, I don't know. If not, you can try, if it's like Monday through Friday, call our Denver office, and I can leave all the numbers, or if you have them, maybe you can post them. The people that answer those phones have wildlife backgrounds as well, so they might actually already have the question before they connect you to one of us. But they'll know who to connect you to, either your local officer or the on-call. If it's after hours, or maybe you just don't want to talk to your office, you can always call through Colorado State Patrol dispatch. That's for any wildlife call. It doesn't have to be emergency. And they're 24/7. So I think like even last Sunday, I got a call at 9:30, which I was getting ready for bed. But you know, I'll still answer it. It was a gal that was concerned about a goose with avian flu. I'm like, I'm happy to answer the phone and help. And if I need to come out, I'll do it. So, but yeah, as far as the public goes, you can try our office or CSP. That's the best way to contact us. So, yeah, it's kind of impressive what these things do with self-service. So, we have them in most spots. So it's just a matter if I can answer right away and call it back. But yeah, it's a good question.
So are you a person to ask, like, if there's policy questions, or is that not early in your wheelhouse?
You know, I can do a lot of like laws and regulations, policy. It depends, I guess. Like looking at yours, like you guys obviously work with like prairie dogs a lot and like raptors. I can answer a lot of those questions to a point that I'm sure I can send it on to someone else. But like a lot of the land use, even stuff like that happens around here in Superior, Louisville, everything that's being built and stuff, we always have some sort of comment on. It doesn't go to me directly. We actually have a department for that, but I get to comment on it as well. Like, hey, like you're putting in a house right next to like a red-tailed hawk nest. We talk about when you're gonna build, that way you're not disturbing the nest. Like we put in those comments too. It's on the construction company to listen to that, but is that kind of the policy you're looking for?
Yeah. I mean, we've had some discussions about coyotes and why they can't be treated with like the easy targeted treatment for mange. I know that's a bigger policy. But also like with prairie dogs, we know there's a whole permitting process if they ever were to be translocated.
Yeah, and that I can help you with.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
good.
Yeah.
Okay. So you would kind of be our contact person if we have to go through that permitting process.
Yeah, and even if you like called the office or just so
okay.
Yeah, it's not too complicated. It's just a matter of me sending you an email and then kind of walking through the steps. And then if you are relocating them to a different park, like if you are sending, like we have like we have a Blackfoot Dirt kind of habitat down in Pueblo. You'd actually want to get a hold of that officer. Okay, yeah. So you kind of
that helps to know like locally, because someone's gotta like come out and do assessment. And see if there's
and it's good for like the local officer here to know too, because we'll get a lot of calls where they're like, hey, do you know town of Superior is doing this, do you know anything about it? And sometimes it's like, I know they have prairie dogs, I don't know what they're doing, so it's kind of nice to know as well,
Yeah.
part two, just to be like, why is Superior moving 1,000 dogs now? But like,
Yeah.
you know, it's good to know, so.
Some kind of like, some contingency plans and just overall plans in place if some shifts needs to happen, like if development happens, so certainly.
Yeah.
In the loop.
If I don't know the answer, I'll find someone that will, so.
And then I guess I'm just curious, so with the coyotes, you know, I'm learning more about just the mange treatment that's kind of targeted and easy, and I think kind of a one-shot deal, right? Is there, because I know it's like, it's not in our jurisdiction to get involved in that at all, so if we do things like dusting prairie dog burrows, for example, like we're treating to get rid of fleas, so there's
Yeah,
plague, all that.
Yeah.
If we can do stuff like that, why, I'm just curious, from like a policy standpoint,
Yeah.
why not?
and I don't know if I can tell you all the ins and
That's
outs
okay,
and why,
just over
but
here,
as coyotes specifically, my guess is that their population's doing phenomenally well. Mange is a thing that some can come back from, especially having a warm winter like this. Also, if we were trying to reach all of them, it's just, coyotes have a very, like liberal, management plan, just because they are very adaptable, they can do well. Mange will affect one or two, but it's not gonna decimate the population. And when we manage wildlife, we usually have a population focus. Now with like dusting, that's kind of a bigger scale thing because prairie dogs, they're affected by it so easily and it affects that whole colony.
Exactly, yeah.
And now that we're trying to do like Black-footed ferret reintroduction stuff, like Boulder County, you guys might see that in your future, because this is just such a great county, because you guys do dust. And the land that a lot of open spaces are protecting and stuff are kind of making these like hotspots for Black-footed ferret reintroductions. So I think there's probably like more management for that stuff than like coyote, just because one might get mange, it might come back from it, it might not, which I always hate talking about this stuff, 'cause it's like, it's like geese with avian flu, there's gonna be some that aren't gonna make it. There have been some that do come back from it, which is really interesting, why one but not the other, and it's kind of with coyotes too, it's just kind of like a natural, let the natural process work. Now, when it comes to things like diseases and stuff, if you notice that cow has mange, but there's something else going on there, and it does die, or if we need to look at it, we have our health lab up in Fort Collins, and I'm always happy to take stuff up there for them to, or why we're doing this, right? It's for research and knowledge. Like weird examples, this last summer we had a bear acting weird, like just really weird symptoms of a bear, like not just trying to get the trash, but just how it was walking, it seemed neurological. It broke into someone's house more than once. When we came back, we had to euthanize it just because it was doing some weird, it was spirit sick too. It was not a very wild. It looked sad. It had avian influenza. So now we're seeing this disease is affecting other breeds. Very interesting. So it's a hard call to make, but if you are seeing stuff like how it's mange, you're seeing this underlying stuff, let us know, because we'll at least try to research what's going on with that as well. So yeah, cows are they're a hot topic in this area for management, because some areas have a lot of healthy ones. And they want to get rid of them, you know, and they don't get mange ever, we get it in other spots, and it's very weird, so.
Then I know avian influenza, there's an emergency in Weld County, right?
Yeah.
So I'm imagining that there may be more calls around here for that, I don't know, but do you have kind of a blanket recommendation for people if they're observing that?
You can always report it, especially if you see it, I mean, yeah, I'm always happy when people report anything, so it's just good for us to know. We keep track of it on our end too, we'll get, you know, kind of do a box of like how many Canada geese we're getting, great horned owls, like this is affecting different species. We like to keep track of it. If it's starting to affect, like if you see a major die off, that's when we need to start like, kind of, that's a flag in my head, like why is there, you know, 30, 50 geese dead in one spot now, like that's when that's bad. But one or two, it's kind of expected, we see it every year. This year I think it's been actually a little bit better thanks to the weather. But it's when they start, you know, grouping out for migration, someone's contagious, it's just like kids. For Pretty much all around, geese and kids are the same. But yeah, even just reporting, especially seeing it, in different species, like you've noticed a lot of owls in Wilkes County, being affected by it and kind of starting to come into Longmont at that older park. But down here, I haven't had too many young owls, few geese here and there. It's good to know, just to help keep track of detection and stuff, so. And like over time, you kind of see this trend as well. This is the time of year for avian influenza, especially with geese. This is the time of year for mange and then aggressive coyotes too, because they're mating season starting. So talking about the dogs, I find that interesting. Because we get a lot of people that walk dogs off leash in Broomfield and the coyote will come up to it. So this is the thing that we're worried about as well. It's like we don't want them to come together. Yeah, dogs, keep them separate. So yeah, good questions.
Any questions from you folks online?
Yes, I would actually really appreciate it if you could give us some information about gray wolf activity in our region.
Yeah, of course. Have you all seen the maps and stuff? So about every month DPW will post a statewide map showing wolf activity, and that's of our collared wolves. So if you go to the North Park area, there's been a few that have come down from Wyoming naturally, and then the rest that we are monitoring are collared. So we post this map, I think it's monthly, that shows the watersheds that they're in. So that watershed, it's gonna show that whole watershed system. So November, we had one wolf hanging out pretty close to like Netherland, came actually a little bit closer to Boulder. When that map was released, that whole watershed went down here, went into Broomfield, a chunk went east of I-25. Because that watershed goes east of I-25, that wolf actually never set its paws down in this area. It just crossed a watershed. And then the next month, they actually went back west again, and then that shaded area, this area went away. So it's fascinating, especially those wolves from British Columbia, they must be like the fittest wolves I've ever seen. So the miles that they're covering is really interesting. They've been kind of going, over the divide, back over. One down near Aspen has just been covering a huge chunk of range. So we haven't had any down here in Boulder or Superior or anything. But they've kind of been going up, back and over the divide. So I don't know, it's pretty impressive. So, but yeah, right now you're just stuck with coyotes. That's all I got. And bears and lions, and the moose occasionally. So
I do have one more question. So I know sometimes people can be a little bit reluctant to report if they see a sick or injured animal because some folks are under the impression that they'll just be automatically euthanized.
yeah.
What's kind of the threshold for an animal goes to, like Greenwood, for example, for wildlife rehab versus not?
Yeah, no, I've been learning this even as I go because there's been I work a lot with birds of prey over here in Broomfield, and because the gal that runs that, Heidi, she's so good. I'm like, I'll bring the little saddest looking bird. I'm like, can you save it? And that's up to her at that point, and she's the expert at that. But it's really it's kind of hard to tell. It depends on how bad the animal is. If it's hit by a car, what's broken, what's not. Usually smaller critters are easier to work with because we do have Greenwood, we do have birds of prey, Rocky Mountain Raptor. It's really just kind of dependent on what happened to it. I don't make that call until I get there and then see what it is. And it's a hard conversation for me to have because there are times when we do have to euthanize animals, and I tell people that's my least favorite part of the job. I didn't get in here to I'm not a trigger happy person. I also want to see the animal, live, and I love helping birds of prey out because it's fun releasing them back and giving them that second chance again. But it really depends, and it's hard because we get a lot of elk up in Estes and Loveland, and people. The thing is people just need to slow down up there because we've seen elk with the worst injuries, and people well, can't you take it to a vet? And I'm like, it's at that point, it's not going to happen. So. Yeah, it's never an easy call, but it really just depends on the severity of it. So I always try. if it looks like it has a chance, I'm like, oh, I'll drive it.
What is Greenwood?
Greenwood's up in Longmont, just, between Lyons and Longmont, it's a wildlife rehab center for small mammals and birds, yeah. So, and then, the only rehab I know that CPW has is, gosh, I'm gonna forget the name. We have a rehab for like bears, up in, what's it called? The name's gonna come to me at night when I'm sleeping. That's like, yeah, that's exactly what's gonna happen. That one's kind of cool, cause like we'll have, we're all familiar with forest fires in this area. You know, a lot of times it burns their paws and stuff. We'll take it to them to Fraser Creek. So there's a lot of resources around the state, but your local one's gonna be Greenwood and Birds of Prey, so, yeah.
Well, thank you so
Any
much.
last questions?
Yeah, thanks so much, guys.
Did Joanne? Joanne's the one.
Joanne, do you have a question?
Yeah, I did have a question. I know that the geese population in Superior is troubling to some people. Are there state guidelines on the Canadian geese that come through and the ones that live here?
So birds are tricky because they're mainly managed by the federal government because they're migratory, so they go through more than one state. Yeah, so we have, as far as hunting goes, like our bag limits, and that can change from year to year. But as far as like, geese were pretty hands off on just because they are moving in and out. We'll help people with like that crops and stuff. If the geese are coming to their crops and just eating all of it, we'll help phase them. So just usually loud noises that scare them off. So we do like that management, like game damage is what we call it. And obviously we're checking hunters and stuff that are hunting geese and making sure they're legal in that way, but it's pretty hands off as far as anything else. Like, yeah, there's not too much that we do with them. So there's a lot here.
Can municipalities enact their own guidelines, or is that sort of hands off too because the federal government regulates it?
Yeah, I mean, are you looking at increasing, decreasing, or is there, I guess, what do you?
How to live with them?
Okay, like coexistence and, yeah, oh, that's a good one. Maybe I'll think about that and get back to you, but yeah, we can think of some things, because there are deterrents and stuff. And I know like Denver, they're kind of a fun city to watch because they have a lot of unique ideas to get geese off their golf courses and stuff, so.
Well, didn't they feed them didn't they use them for Thanksgiving dinner for the homeless one year?
Yeah, it's really like, it's tricky because in these areas, I mean, I'll be kind of biased. The best way to manage them is through hunting. Because if they get pressure on them, then there's gonna be less numbers coming back to that one spot. That doesn't happen in, in the city because we're not gonna be discovering farms in the city. So maybe that's something we can like add to our list of stuff to look at and just connect us and stuff, and what we can talk about it, because there's deterrence, and we can talk about hazing and stuff. Maybe I can show you guys some little fireworks that we can shoot off to. But yeah,
Fireworks.
yeah, it's something similar. That it's just a noise, but yeah. So yeah.
Yes, very much.
Thank you.
And we've got contacted.
Those off-leash dogs.
Yeah, and I think I'm gonna put cards on the table too, and one that we don't use, just recycle. So, yeah. That's another way to say it. So, yeah.
It's pretty good wording for our friends. Yeah.
Oh. I just have this is interesting, so thank you.
There was a statement, this is the, I think that's done really good ones.
Yeah, I think I'll stay.
So the next agenda.
Yeah.
And I'm getting it like a fee and,
Talking time.
That's a
Okay, keep up.
Are you there?
Yes.
Hello, everybody.
Is it a
Florida,
nice
nice to meet you guys.
So, this is George, Colin, and around the corner is Stephanie from Garrett Companies.
Yep.
That are working on a development plan for the Harry's property here.
And we have 300
If you guys don't mind.
Did you guys have like a USB or something that I?
Yes, so we bring in the US. Smells good in here.
I think Stephanie's got it.
Okay.
You know what, I can scoot over here. You guys, it's easier to.
No, it's okay. We can start. We don't need to. Thank you.
And I'm trying to move away from that head.
If you guys want to be in charge of this, to go through the slides or by all means, so thanks so much. Don't know where you want me to go.
I think.
Oh, I can.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just show that, and if it's not, we can just.
So Stephanie reached out to us and asked if the companies could make a presentation. Thank you very much for that.
Of course.
Looking forward to what you have to share.
Just taking my notes. I should probably get your last names too.
Reisman, REISMAN.
It's M-A-N.
Last name, so W-A-R-C-Y-R-E-W-O-R-C-H.
You.
Yeah, that's why I didn't bother to pronounce it, it just starts sounding now.
Thank you.
With an Afrobeat.
Yeah. Okay, the floor is yours.
All right, well, thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, thank you guys for having us tonight. We really appreciate it. Well, we've already introduced ourselves.
But we should tell you there are 3 people online.
Oh,
They
okay,
can
perfect.
hear you,
Okay,
even if you can't see them.
perfect.
Right.
I didn't you go to the next slide. All right, so here, we have a site aerial. We all know this is known as the Harriet property, approximately 22 acres, and is currently vacant land. Next slide, please. Here, this slide shows our conservation plan. We have the wetlands to the northeast that take up 0.83 acres. And then we have the reservoir buffer that take up 3.62 acres. And the total area preserved on our site is 4.5 acres, which equals 20% the total overall site. So here, these next few slides are just some overviews and some site sections. And here we have, we show the walking trail along 88. And then to the south of our site, we show the 8-foot walking pedestrian trail. In addition to that, there are retaining walls that run along that pedestrian trail. In addition to that, there is a 5-foot construction buffer between the retaining wall and the pedestrian trail.
And is that on the south side of that
Yes.
trail?
Mm-hmm.
And so a couple other things about this too. So this trail is intended to be completely public. So as we know from, feedback we've gotten from OSAC and others in the community, no access to the buffer, public access to the trail and the covered viewing area. And I just wanted to point that as well, and an 8-foot trail there. So really the public area starts on the north side of the routine.
And how wide is that buffer? I can't read that.
That buffer's 100 feet, and we've got some sections that'll show that. The length is
I
not.
think he wants to know the width.
Oh, the width of the buffer, the trail.
The buffer.
The buffer is 100 feet, and we're measuring that to the property line right now. We know ultimately we'll need to measure that from the high water mark. We have not established a high water mark yet, but that's in process, and we're working with a surveyor to figure that out. Any feedback the committee has on establishing high water mark would be welcome. But yes, it's 100 feet measured to the property line, and we expect the buffer to grow once we identify the high water mark.
In addition to the 5.
That's right.
In addition to the 5-foot construction.
Constructability though, right, will ultimately just be like sort of absorbed by the buffer.
Is the buffer higher than?
the section.
The trail, or is it the other way? I can't remember.
Actually, yeah, that's a great segue.
Next slide, please, yeah.
Yes.
Street man.
No, I'm with you. Like,
Yeah,
So this site section is meant to show how we are maintaining the existing slope on that south side of the site. This enables us to protect the natural buffer, and it also helps prevent the human pet encroachment, and it gives the pedestrian an elevated experience viewing to the reservoir, as you can see.
So again, on this one, it's right, it's creating like a really strong visual connection to the reservoir while preventing that encroachment. And it doesn't have like a real strong barrier, right? It's almost like, you know, you see it, it's there, but you can't access.
Yeah, and where it shows the retaining, I mean, that will all obviously be covered, and then on top of the retaining wall, there will be a guardrail.
There'll be what?
Guardrail.
And how high would that be?
About 44 inches, it's fall protection,
Yeah.
essentially.
And is the retaining wall of that proportional height along the entire length?
It is, so it ranges like anywhere, so like over by 88, it kind of gets started there and it ramps up pretty quickly. And so actually we have heights on here that are really hard to see. I think this one's in the range of 14 feet at the viewing area. And kind of, we've got a few more sections heading west where you'll see that wall grows to about 16 to 18 feet and then starts to taper back down. It goes about 12 feet, I don't know, 100 feet or so from 88th and then tapers down to nothing. So to prevent, you know, human encroachment along 88th, we'll probably have to do something there, you know, to account for that. But along the trail itself, you know, we think this is a pretty good solution here.
Yeah, the retaining wall is just everyone.
Even if the dogs are off, we were just.
This is why
So
it's
it runs the
helpful.
whole,
Yeah. It's buried in height, but yeah.
Yeah, it would run all along that pedestrian path.
But it's still the 100 foot that you haven't gone to the 300.
No, and we can talk about that.
Could vary by the high water mark, is that what you were
It
saying?
will, so we
Yeah.
anticipate to be more than 100 once we establish that high water mark. And you can actually see the constructability zone there, right, that 5 feet. So we're measuring 100 feet to 5 feet from the retaining wall, so we can build the retaining wall without disturbing anything within that 100-foot buffer. So that'll kind of be absorbed, and then again, on the south side of the property line, there should be some additional footage there.
Yeah, but you understand, of course.
Of course.
That's under the endangered species.
Yeah.
What the state has recommended is that if there are endangered species, which there have been observed there, 300 foot is the recommended minimum.
So totally understand that. We looked at that really closely. I mean, we want to provide as much buffer as we can while still balancing that with like a successful project, really.
I understand.
And we also read the reports, you know, OSAC provided to us, right? I think the Smith report was sort of in the 100 to 150 range. I don't think the other reports really commented on it. So they were sort of silent on it. So kind of balancing everything and trying to provide some of the other things that we're trying to provide for the community, like affordability, not too much density. You know, all those things sort of played into what you're seeing here, but we did absolutely try and evaluate going to a wider buffer.
Yeah, 100%. I think with the density conversations we've been hearing from our site and other sites, it makes it a little challenging. Now, I think the 150-foot buffer was potentially attainable before, where we can go more dense. Doesn't sound like density is what the town wants, so we're trying to just balance everything right now.
And all the other comments and requirements, you know, setbacks on, you know, along 88th and.
Yeah, we can probably keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So here is just another section, you know, cut through it. So that look, we probably just said this on the last slide, but that little map in the bottom right-hand corner, that kind of shows you where we're cutting. So here in this location, the wall is getting up to about 18 feet in height.
The red part.
Sorry, like you see that little person walking on that trail up there?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm looking on the inside, okay.
Yep, so like, yeah, so that's gonna be 18 feet higher than sort of the buffer gradient, if you will. So again, just cut a number of sections through here so we could just get a feel of how this is in a couple of different locations. And then the next one, you know, is next to 88th. So you can go ahead and flip to the next slide. Right, so we're cutting that section right there, and that close to 88th, actually, we're in the 12-foot range, actually, on the retaining wall height, which is a little surprising to us, but that's where we are to maintain that buffer grade that's existing today. So again, none of that gets disturbed during construction. It's all been fenced off. We got the constructability zone still. So right, that just kind of follows that 100-foot setback along the property line. I think we could probably keep going. We can always come back to these. So these next few slides really are just pulled right out of the HHR position paper issued by OSAC, and then also the Prairie Dog Playbook that was issued by OSAC. And so really, we just wanted to respond, to that document and just let you guys know that we have analyzed it and we're doing just about everything, in there, frankly, and everything we can do, So the open space buffer, right, 100 foot, we've talked about that. We understand that the town would like that deeded, OSAC would like that deeded over to the town. We are absolutely open to that concept. I think there's some finer details that we need to get ironed out there, like open space calculation and those types of things. But we're absolutely open to that. And then, as we talked about, with the retaining wall, we think it's a good solution for preventing human and pet encroachment, without having a big fence, and having some obstruction, to the trail. That's just kind of our feeling, but again, open for discussion. Then wildlife education and amenities, the viewing platform is mentioned, in the position paper, the nature trail, interpretive signage. And I think we're going above and beyond the viewing platform. We'll actually do a structure, that would all be done at our cost, that would, again, open to the public.
That's like the gazebo.
Exactly. And that's really just a concept, right? Exactly what that ends up being is really would be a collaboration. But that's the idea. And that, that's a commitment we're willing to make, right now. Pollution mitigation, runoff prevention. I think this is one we really wanted to hit on because in one of the reports, I saw something that was concerning for me that said development of the site would denigrate the water quality in the reservoir. I just want to go on record, that is just not the case. Flat out, zero runoff will be going into HHR. It'll all be captured on site. It's going to run to a detention pond on the east side of the site, or we're going to route it across the street to an existing detention pond. But we can document that however we want.
We work with our civil engineer.
Yeah.
To make sure and ensure that we will not be.
Yeah, absolutely. We would like that commitment.
It's a little body of water in the.
Yeah, and then,
Retention pond.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's one of the two that will feed into, that's right. Yeah, thanks for going back. You could probably get
And
one
that
more.
will drain elsewhere than the reservoir. Is that right?
Exactly.
The retention pond.
That will not drain into the reservoir.
Is it over here, Colin? Is that where?
So there's one over
Yeah.
there,
Yes.
exactly, just off screen, and then that's
And
the
that's the-
onsite.
Capacity for us to be able to go underneath 88 and.
Exactly.
Goes into the river bend area, certainly, what we're talking about.
Sorry, there's an existing detention pond that we'll tie into that actually accounted for runoff from this site where it was constructed inside.
On the southwest side.
Is that-
It's very bottom of your neighborhood.
Heading north.
If you're heading north on 88, it would be right on your left. It's not on it.
Oh, yeah.
Is it at the roundabout?
It's
It's at the roundabout.
Yeah.
I think.
Yes.
Okay.
The round, yeah, right.
the roundabout here, I think it's right.
Yes.
And there's actually a stub across or underneath 88 to that detention pond to this site, actually, because it was contemplated that this site was or over there. And so sorry, you mind going back to where we were? So just want to stress that absolutely no water, drainage will go into HHR. And then something else that came out of the position paper that I thought was really interesting was this sensitive photometric design. I mean, that is absolutely doable. I mean, I think the goal here is to really have 0 foot candles at the trail and certainly at the wall. And, that wall will really prevent light spillover onto the buffer. So that's something that we could definitely do. It's engineering. We have our MVP do this all the time, where we have 0 foot candles on the property line. That's definitely doable. Yeah, so that's something that we can commit to doing as well. And then animal relocation, we'll get, into this a little bit more when we talk about the Prairie Dog Playbook, which is coming up. But we are making a commitment to relocate the prairie dogs. Live trapping would be our, the route that we would take. And then of course, do the burrowing owl survey as well. And then habitat enhancement and management. This is something that we had talked about internally. This was really interesting to us. It's something that we're interested in doing. Don't really know much about it. Yeah, so I think, you know, this is something that seems doable. We don't know much about it, but we'd like to collaborate and try to figure out, you know, is this something we should be doing here? Are there good locations for it? You know, and again, I think that's something that we could take on at our cost as well. You know, assuming we could do it like in the wetlands or in the buffer or find like a logical spot for it. It's probably not something we want to do like right in the middle of our site.
Yeah, a little more to the north, because I live across you.
So yeah, so we're happy to just kind of put this ball in everybody's court and say, you know, is this something we should be doing? Is it not something we should be doing? And if so, just work together on finding the right locations for it.
I don't know if we have that presentation.
We can send you something.
Okay, yeah.
And then this is covered straight out of the Prairie Dog playbook. Engaging with a qualified relocator for live translocation. We've been talking with a number of relocators. Twin Peaks Environmental is the one we're kind of leaning towards. This was formerly Smith Environmental. So I believe they're on your recommended list.
Yeah, and two people, or some of the people stop, and if that's
It's ever evolving.
yeah, yeah.
And so really, the reason they impress us is because they really have a strong track record of successful translocated prairie dog colonies. You know, they really knew the ins and outs of this, you know, understood the pupping season, understood the right time to move them.
The relocation places will take them.
Exactly, like, so they have contacts, like, you know, at these places.
They know additional places other than the ones we have listed, because they're pretty.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, the same question, really. I mean, we want to identify someplace that will take these. I think that's the challenge.
Right, because right now the option is Pueblo, and that changes year.
And that's
year.
Yeah, I can imagine that, like, I mean, it's Pueblo, but we won't know if they're gonna be open, like.
But we also have a potential site here locally. I mean, I think we're all seeing the benefit that prairie dogs provide, you know, native ecosystem, and especially with all the discussion about wildfire mitigation and vegetation clipping, like we're hiring those.
That's like.
Yeah, so, yeah, I'm not sure where I was going with that.
Yeah.
So we've done a local, you know, it changes the game, whether we would go one direction or the other. Because if, you know, if they're being trapped and sent to Pueblo, it's not like a full translocation where you've installed artificial burrows like here in Superior. And it's a full transition process. And then we keep them here. That it does add more expense, as I'm sure you saw in the Prairie Dog playbook, but it is definitely an option that, you know, we're certainly interested in keeping them local versus sending them to Pueblo. But again, it's a dynamic landscape, and Pueblo was here this last year, and it might not be an option next year.
Right.
And then we're left with the one option.
So do you guys feel like you have an inside track to make the Superior site available?
Well, there has been discussion. I mean, it's been not ongoing, but it's been an already established discussion with Boulder County, but like staff shifts, and it's kind of like a revisited conversation. So I don't have the playbook right in front of me, but if I remember correctly, like we own that property and it has easement with Boulder County, if I remember, because in some places it's reversed, I think.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's Superior property. It would be, I think going back to Boulder County and just ensuring that, yep, we're okay with that, and all the permits. But there's also, you know, cattle grazing and all the dynamics that come into that. So, you know, right now it seems like they were fine with it. We would certainly like to see that happen. Right now we've got goats grazing in almost that exact location.
Okay.
So it would be, from my understanding, Boulder County preferred to move it a little bit southerly from, I think, if I'm understanding correctly, where the goats are grazing right now. So yeah, we'd have to go into more depth with them. I think they last left it with Leslie, I believe, like, let's get into more the nitty gritty if we get closer to that.
Right.
But that would also involve having a contractor who's you know, at least somehow affiliated with someone who can install artificial burrows. So there's heavy equipment involved in that. And, you know, I mean, it kind of looks like, wow, you know, for a while, but they have to dig artificial burrows to get them established. And then, you know, things regrow as they're intended to. This same type of project just happened along 128 a few years ago, and I volunteered with that project. And those were full artificial burrows that were dug in over there. Are you familiar with that?
Was that Seth Jones or who was that with?
No, it was with Lindsay Sterling Crank. And I wanted Humane Society of the US.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, I've seen our.
In an effort to stay on schedule, do you have more to present or are
I
we?
think there's like one more. Yeah, so I think, sorry, if we could go back to that real quick. So we also like Twin Peaks experience in town of Superior, obviously, on your list, and then the potential receiving sites. So I think we've narrowed down to these two, you know, and we could explore others, and work together to hopefully make the Superior site work.
Just because that list of relocators is ever evolving, I have a couple additional contacts that I'm needing to update. So if you're open to, you know, exploring others, there's possibly a couple.
Okay, we can move on to the next slide, please. And then these are the development approval considerations. There's a Harriet property right out of the playbook. Secure relocator, adhere to a prairie dog translocation plan. We're willing to make that commitment. No problem there. Acceptable timing. We understand the timing to relocate. It needs to be between August and October. You know, that would be our plan moving forward. Either in 2026 or 2027, you know, depending on when, you know, we'd be able to start our project, but can absolutely comply with that. Acceptable translocation methodology, live trapping. I think I mentioned that one. And then of course the burrowing owl survey. We've done a little homework on that and talked with the consultant. You know, she seems to think this isn't a great site for burrowing owls, but if they were there, you know, we would let them.
Yeah, you never know. It's good to do the surveys.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and that's,
Yep.
We can't see you, but are there questions, from our online folks?
I don't think so.
I've been having a sneezing fit, sorry.
Mike, did I hear your voice?
Yeah, sorry, I've been having a sneezing fit, so I just turned my camera off, sorry.
That's right.
We could supply this presentation and, you know, we could take questions later. Yeah, we can have to be right in a second, but,
Joanne, any question?
No, just you know, a real concern about the buffer between the development and HHR. And don't want it to impact the quality or the habitat for the migrating and local birds and local residents.
Yeah.
Cara?
Hi there. Yes, I just want to say thank you so much for your engagement with us this evening and your willingness to look at our HHR paper as well as the Prairie Dog Playbook. That is fantastic. My main concern continues to be that buffer zone where the 100-foot buffer is the bare minimum that, you know, even the EPA said. We have some critical species where the 200 to 300-foot buffer would be preferable. But I really do appreciate this engagement. You know, it'd be great if we could come up with some way where development can enjoy open space without disrupting it. So thank you.
Yeah. From what I think the buffer.
This question, sure, yeah,
the issue.
absolutely.
what is the impact of the 12 to 18-foot wall when you're talking about functional buffering?
Yeah.
You know, it seems like it'd be a lot different to have a 100-foot wide buffer if it was flat to the development versus having, you know, a 18-foot wall. Does that, I don't know, does that
I can't say from a human perspective, the wall is better because the view is better.
Yeah.
From the animal or the bird perspective.
Yeah.
I don't know whether that creates more human traffic in visual view
Yeah,
than
I
a,
don't, yeah, I
than
don't know
a
the
deeper
buffer issue.
buffer would create.
I think you're on the right track with that, yeah, birds have the best vision,
Yeah.
right, so they're gonna see that sticking out a little bit more. I don't know how much that's gonna like affect them, but it's something to consider for sure.
It could be moderated some with vegetation. Up on
Potentially,
that,
Yeah.
sure, up along that point.
Yeah.
Just, you know,
Do you think it would help?
people can still see.
Well, not that again.
Yeah, I think we'll read it.
That makes a lot of sense. Do you think it would help to plant along the base of the wall, sort of in that 5-foot constructability zone?
No,
No, okay.
it probably is best left to revegetate natural or reseed it, so
Okay.
that's natural.
Sure. So if we're thinking like vegetation on top of the wall, is that?
Like on the other.
To create
on the
more
other
of a
side, yeah,
visual barrier.
I thought the same
Oh,
thing,
So you
yeah,
would see people, you know, so it wouldn't be so obvious
Oh,
from
I
the
got it, okay.
reservoir
Yeah,
if there
Yeah.
are people and dogs moving back and forth,
yeah, absolutely.
but still provide some.
Maybe there's
Sideline.
one section that's open, but 95% of it is covered.
Yeah, or there's just like,
Or gaps or.
yeah,
Yeah.
just periodic vegetation through there, so it's not just completely open. Yeah,
buffer sound too.
Yeah. No, to
okay. Yeah. We're aware of that.
Peter Ruprecht though had recommended, in an email though, to consider restoration and ongoing maintenance of the native grasses, forbs, trees and bushes in the buffer area. So that could be a discussion, like if it was deeded to the town, I guess that might be a separate discussion, but that there is some necessity to that too.
We have a former member of the committee that's a bird, our resident bird expert. I would like him to see the diagrams and get his feedback.
Well, we also have the breeding survey from 2023 that I think would be helpful for you guys, because that really is the most like salient, up to date info versus the old like Smith environmental report.
Okay.
Peter and groups of citizens have kept really awesome data on that, so
And Peter also recommended a couple of things that you have.
Okay, great.
Yeah, first out my friend, and her spoke.
Okay.
Okay, last call for comments or questions?
just in terms of you were asking maybe for some help around identifying the high water mark, would that be Boulder County that would maybe be the most involved? It's their water, yeah, so.
They only manage it, so they're the ones that control the level of their.
Right, they have to fill it, yeah.
I think, so our backup, it's really just survey the dam and look at like sort of where the outfall is and then sort of carry that elevation across. If we can't get a concrete answer, I think that's a pretty logical.
It can't get higher than that.
Yeah, right.
They would be very open to. From what Leslie has said.
Boulder County?
Boulder County and any part of the rest.
And we can read
Yeah, we can sort of research online. I'm sure that we talked to anybody specifically about that one. But
Not, yeah, we haven't talked to them about the high water line. It was really just to kind of reach out and talk about, like, hey, this is kind of what we're proposing, here's the buffer that we're showing. And it was essentially, they are a referral agency once we actually submit our application. So, and they said, you know, we'll review it then, but I really was just trying to get a concrete answer, like, but I can reach back out to the woman who emailed me and ask her, if she has any resources or if that's something that can help us figure out.
What are your next steps and what would be your ask for our next steps?
Well, so I think coming to this meeting, I think we truly would like to talk more about the raptor nest, if that's something we want to pursue here. So I think that's one. You know, two, I think just to keep the conversation going, again, like this feedback has been really helpful. We think it's improving the plan, you know, we understand the buffer a lot better now. We understand the goals and objectives a lot better. So I think it's really just to keep the dialogue going. I know we've got some more community outreach in the works. You know, and we just kind of keep going through the process, really.
Greatly appreciate
How many units are in the planned project? This is multi-family that you're doing, right?
It's all-
Yeah, so originally we proposed around 350. And it sounded like maybe it does a little bit too much for the neighborhood. We are getting traffic studies done and all that kind of stuff, just to understand the traffic impact. But ultimately, where I think we're gonna land is we're trying to do 60 units of senior housing. And then we'll do probably 220 to 230 units of attainable housing. So apartments that are attainable to the first responders really is what we're going. Yep.
Yeah, let's keep them close.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Approach to the waterfront or the buffer. But there are a lot of migrating birds in and out. You might think about kind of a low light for the development as a whole.
Mhm.
You know, so the front of the development doesn't look like Walmart.
Yeah.
Kind of a low light.
Sure.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, when you think of migratory birds, a lot of Colorado that I know, there's an organization called Dark Skies Colorado. They do a lot of research with like how that affects the migration of birds and light pollution, that all ties in together with the environment. And it just kind of helps us understand, like, they have tips and tricks and advice if you look on their website on how we as people can coexist with the animals and what we can do, like, turning your light down dim at a certain point in the day and things like that. So that all plays into effect on how they move and migrate throughout when they're, just passing through or wherever, if they're resident, species here as well. So Dark Skies is a good resource.
Okay, great. Yeah, I have that written down. And I like that idea. That's a good idea. Like maybe at like 1 a.m. or something, everything gets dimmer, right? When people aren't really coming and going anymore, the wildlife tends to take over, right?
Whatever's reasonable. We realize it's not a pristine site. There's US 36, right?
That's a good one. And it sounds like, we're having the same thought over here that like, there comes a time at night where we can sort of dim everything and it really has no impact on the residents. Yeah.
Good. Well, thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you so
much. And we'll stay in touch if we gather information from here. We'll share that.
Okay, great.
Thank you for your.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us.
Yeah,
appreciate it. All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, very nice to meet you. Thank you.
Yeah, you want to tee us to that?
Oh, yeah.
All our
So you guys want,
Thank you.
thank you.
They're gonna send us a presentation and. We'll
Yeah,
have it.
yeah. Okay.
Okay.
No problem.
The trail counter evaluation, I think at this point is coming as a recommendation to the group for a expenditure of about $14,600, I think is what it comes to. After evaluating a number of low cost and higher cost products, EcoCounter, a company out of Quebec, seems to have a product that is well used locally, is endorsed. Rita sent something out today. Rita and Ari and I were on a team call talking about their experience and their recommendations. This is a higher end product than we would have to buy to count trails, but the data downloading is automatic. Maintenance is very low, and it seems like this will give us a good base for expanding into other areas of town should we wish to do so. Personally, I see this as that we'll buy 3 now and then revisit this next year when we can see the data a little bit, see how we're doing. So what we're talking about are a sensor in black mounted in a post that the vendor provides, looks like that.
Well, the vendor will sell to us.
Pardon me?
The vendor will sell to us.
Yeah, they'll, yes, provide in exchange, yeah.
I don't know, maybe the town has resources that they can get them.
Well, it's all mills and so on, it's so good and try and get the town to do that.
Inside, it's good.
Next slide. All right. So, we're proposing that we buy 3 counters. This was kind of a collaboration of Michael's and mine and a little bit of Ari suggesting where we put trails. That's Coyote Ridge. The black lines are social trails. We're proposing all the other tags are when we thought they were cheap and we could get 8 or more.
Standing by.
The 1, 2, and 3 tags suggest one where the parking lot and the new ADA trail, that's probably where we're going to get the most new trail usage. Number 2 is a major entry point for the lower part of the park, right by Highway Park. And is probably 2 in the upper right corner. And is probably the site of, it's our highest ranked trail development that we did last year. That's
the one over by.
That's the a switchback right there so that bikes and strollers and so on can access that point.
And all the people can get up and down.
And old people. And number is number 3 could go a number of places, but number 3, anecdotally, as I pedaled through there, seems to be a common area for except for Michael's.
That's where the
bicyclists coming into the park
from the retention pond is.
It's just above the retention pond. Yeah. So we're assuming placement there. These are semi-permanent. They'd be stuck in the ground. I think we're thinking, and Boulder City has suggested we leave them in place for at least a year and get seasonal pattern, and the permanent location seasonal pattern would allow us to extrapolate use if we have additional counters in the future that we only have for a set period of time based on the seasonal pattern permanent locations. So these are probably multi-year locations, but we can reevaluate it whatever we want. Okay, last slide. This is the quote we've received. The red arrow indicates the price tag for 3 counters. They are directional, so they'll tell us information about number of people coming in, number of people going out. They do not distinguish between a bicycle and a walker or runner.
Or a cow.
Or a cow, yeah. The wooden post. And then it does commit the town to an annual subscription of about $540 per counter. The software, from all the information that I've seen the parties collected, seems to be superior to the other vendors. They also offer an annual data validation that we learned about today from City of Boulder, where they come and look at our data, flag suspicious patterns of usage and help us correct data, suspicious uses either by increased activity or in the case of City of Boulder, their biggest problem is vegetation blowing across the, and our biggest maintenance issue is the vegetation happening around their counter.
When when there's other neighboring cities, I think I mentioned this before, when there's other neighboring cities that also use EcoCounter, you can share platforms. So we ask them, like, if you both agree, consent, that we can share our data with them. Like we have access, like, to see where the connections are, because sometimes, we have trails that start here and it connects to their property. So it helps us figure out patterns and, just how the rhythm of like the flow is throughout the year.
It seems like a much better long-term investment for the town.
I appreciate all the research, because I know we went back and forth, but I think there's money saved with people not having to manually retrieve the data, obviously. And some of the automation that you get with these.
Yeah.
But there are quite a few more entry points currently.
Yes.
No, I mean, I think we just have to be very thoughtful about where we put them. I think the parking lot for sure. But yeah, I think generally it's pretty good, but it's tricky just having three, I guess, is my point.
Yeah.
We could spend more and get some temporary ones.
Yeah.
Because it's near the South Pole is another place where it's like really easy to enter. So I think the easier places to enter, parking lot's gonna be one. Fire park, I think it's a good call. South Pole maybe is another one, like people come in through there. But there's probably 3 or 4 other ones that you could put in the
You know,
mix.
one of the points that Colin had made today, that's the guy from the city of Boulder that already arranged to have us talk with. He said that they go 300 feet in where they were, because multiple access points may connect up at this one point.
Right,
So they
so
would
they
set
funnel in to a,
right, so they would put it like 300 feet in, and they didn't care where they came from, that one or that one.
Yeah.
They wanted to know what.
It's hard to-
Yeah.
And I thought that was interesting.
So,
Are there any counters west of McCaslin? Do we find on the trails west of McCaslin?
City of Boulder has some on Marshall Mesa where they've just been doing,
Or
Boulder
they will be,
mountain bike.
or
Our
they're
lines have been working.
nice. Yeah, how they move you.
Boulder County has them on the Golden Trailhead.
It has a counter. And then,
And City of Boulder has it somewhere up on, near the top of the Colton Trailhead. Isn't that what Colin said
And
today?
didn't he say Flatirons, that's kind of running, that's a little further, but not.
Oh, no, maybe it was way up there, yeah.
no, I think he was just talking about the property change, like how the
Oh.
boundary changes from, Colton Trailhead is managed by Town of Superior, but then when you get on the trail, that's county. If you go up the hill a little bit more, maybe about a half mile in, then you'll see a sign for OSAC. And it says City of Boulder, you're entering City of Boulder property, there's like a fence there, I remember. So I think he was just talking about like, this is where the jurisdiction starts.
Yeah.
I don't think they have a calendar there though. No, I don't think so.
So, overly formal, but I guess this comes as a motion to the group.
I will move.
Okay, second. Any last discussion, questions from the online crowd?
No, I think it's wise that we go with a recommendation from Boulder. I read through what Rita and you folks did, and if they're recommending it and they said that they would do it again, why
Yes, they
reinvent
did.
the wheel?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the
Thanks
motion.
for putting that together.
Okay, those in favor?
Is to
3.
approve the 14,000, the
Uh,
14.
The red arrow.
14,610.
Any opposition for those online? Hearing none? Okay, so spend some money.
Progress.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
Great.
Okay,
This is our CW, grant request.
Yeah, I actually want to look at that.
Ah,
I've had no concerns. But that's up to the next person.
Yeah.
okay, next item and next slide, Ari, is to review our project task assignments for the year. What Ari has displayed is our current list. Rita sent that out with the agenda as well. If we run down this list very quickly, I've got a couple comments or questions on a few of them. Pre-meeting, Rita and I will continue to do meeting agenda and pre-work. Rita, still game? Kath, thank you. Oh, you're coming back. Okay, good. Summary notes, that's my responsibility. Very enthusiastic about that. Meeting notes, we all do that, and we need to rotate Gordon into that new schedule at some point.
I thought maybe,
Or did we already?
no, and I was looking at the schedule and I thought, if I did it in April, that would relieve Amber since she's doing it today.
Okay.
And I can't do it in June, I'll be away, but Christie's on here
think I'm on, please.
Yeah.
Well, if there's no vacancy till next round, don't worry about it.
She's actually on 3 times.
Yeah.
May, July and September.
Yeah, I think Christie's July, but
Okay.
Okay,
after you see how they do it in April, you may not want.
yeah,
Well,
okay.
think on that.
Joanne, Wildlife Encouragement Team, and my question there is, could that be combined with 2 lines down, Wildlife Monitoring Program? Is that more or less part of a package deal? And should the line say Wildlife and Habitat Encouragement Team instead?
It should say Wildlife and Habitat Encouragement Team, but I think that they still need to be separate. Because Tracy's no longer doing the, being on OSAC, but she is still doing the wildlife monitoring.
And your group does not oversee that, is that correct?
No, they're separate.
Tracy, she won't do the wildlife encouragement.
Okay, all right, let me come back. If it should be kept separate, let me come back to it. Raptor program, Kara, are you in?
Yeah, absolutely.
Joanne, are you still there on that list or not?
I don't think I need to be.
Okay.
Joanna,
Kara,
I don't think you
say again.
I said I don't think Joanne needs to be unless she wants to be.
Okay.
I think you'll see that Wildlife and Habitat Encouragement is going to have a lot of input for the potential wildlife management plan. So I think we're going to be pretty busy with that.
Okay.
And I'm good. Just Raptor. I'm that program lead right now.
Okay. So what do we do about oversight of the wildlife monitoring program?
Was Tracy still
That's Tracy.
doing that?
I think we leave it with
not
Tracy because Peter used to do it. He wasn't on OSAC.
But maybe
Yeah.
it's just not
Maybe-
OSAC
Maybe it's
affiliated.
not on our
Yeah.
list because Tracy's gonna do it, but she's not,
Yeah,
Okay.
still gonna continue, but,
Because Peter ran Raptor when he was,
Right.
yeah, I know.
All right.
right.
Yes, good
I think
point.
that's what I'm.
Prairie dogs, looks like there's more work for you.
yeah, we can
Still.
take that not many hours. That's probably gonna
Okay.
go up. So I would estimate a couple hours a month.
All right. We've got a couple trail assignments here. Trail continuity document was the project Rita and I worked on last year to assemble and get trail proposals ranked. There's trail courtesy and there's trail access, trail safety. What if we combine all things trail?
Yeah, I think courtesy acts as safety all go together.
Yeah. Interesting. But
Yeah, and that's already kind of created the messaging, so I think we're just gonna recycle that, because it's not gonna change from year to year.
It's been
Like-
recycled, yeah.
How you pass a bicycle is not gonna
Yeah.
change, right? So,
So,
What is trail courtesy about? I mean, what is that?
well, it's sharing the trail with different users, because there's sports, typically it could be people on horseback, it could be hikers, it could be bikers, and then need to know how to coexist. You know what the rules are.
Pick up to your path.
so it consists of constructing
If I come
public.
and I come up behind you, I yell out, passing on your left. It's all of those.
It's,
Well, what is it, what does it mean for this group? I mean,
so it's for open space, which is part of our remit, but it also carries over into the paved trails that go through like Purple Park and Community Park too. But the message goes out through the town of Superior. So it's basically saying, you know, if you're gonna pass them on a bike, this is how you do it. If you're walking a dog, this is how you behave with other people on the path.
This is a communication.
It's a communication and something that we published last year. And as I mentioned earlier, I don't think it's gonna change that much from year to year. So it's not like we have to reinvent it each year because the rules are gonna be the same. We might emphasize different areas, right? but it's not gonna be that much work. So I think combining them makes,
Okay, so we're gonna combine courtesy and safety.
yeah.
Okay, Rita, what do we even need this, trail ranking? I think we'll probably do trail ranking annually or every 2 years. Is,
We had talked about doing it annually and then deciding whether, after doing it for 2 years.
so is that just, on our to-do list, or does it need to be here as a project?
I would say it's worthwhile having it on the list
Okay,
because it does remind us that that's something that we need to do and determine who is going to do it.
For time, are you talking about no time?
trail continuity document,
Oh, okay.
which is probably better stated as trail proposal ranking or something.
Yeah.
Well, there's a whole thing that, the one that I got here from, that's the actual trail continuity document. That's what it was called.
Continuity and-
I can't take credit for naming it. I just need names.
Okay, open space management plan, that was a 1-year project and is done. Communication agenda, we can leave off. Trails we've taken care of. Marshall Fire Memorial, Mike, I think you're
Involved that, I know Kara was at the last meeting,
Last
so I don't care if you're stay on that one or
okay.
I'd like to stay on that one as well.
Good.
that one's gonna be really picking up probably.
I think Christie's still involved in wildfire issues. Michael? you-
Yeah, I mean, it's probably kind of tapered off a little bit in terms of how often, we're meeting on that. I would defer to Christie on that. She's really been closer to that, and I just think it was probably a hotter topic, so to speak, when it's closer to
Should I
fire.
query her as to whether there's
I
work to do it?
yeah, I would ask her whether that, I don't know if that's even a monthly update anymore.
Okay.
That much change.
Okay. Budget, Rita, you have to do. Coyote Ridge projects, not just capital projects, but projects, I think,
Yes, yes.
Mike and I are still game to team up on that. Amber, are you the new rodenticide person?
Yeah.
There may be some work with that related to the upcoming legislation.
Yeah, I'm happy to be following that.
Okay,
Because Tracy was about like the HOA didn't want to be responsible for communicating that, which I don't know.
That was
Yeah.
weird.
That was kind of weird.
That was really fun.
Like, don't we hire them as a community to
You paid them.
serve the community?
Rita and Joanne, I don't understand the difference between community involvement, parentheses, noxious weeds, et cetera, and community
Cleanups.
events. Could community events be a single listing here?
It could be community event. We were in 2024, we had regularly scheduled communal meeting events. Decided it really wasn't a good fit, and last year, Kari picked, I don't know, half a dozen, no, maybe 3 or 4 weeding days. But in addition to that, Kari had the trash pickup in Audrey Park yesterday.
Yeah.
So
Could
they
this,
could be segregated.
so couldn't this also be just community engagement events? And the two of you divvy up those activities?
I see what you're saying, for their community events to do certain work. One is weeding,
Pulling
one is
weeds,
pulling.
yeah.
They could be organized in this.
This is recruiting.
They are community events, yes, if you categorize it like very, if that's the vague, yeah. I don't mind
Yeah,
it.
Gordon, you gotta try to pull in noxious weed, you guys, the new people have to do that.
Noxious weeds.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll have to come up for a title that incorporates both. Raptor program we've got, I have asked, offline, I asked Gordon if he would serve as a liaison to our East County open space organizations and monitor their agendas and bring to us best practices, things we need to pay attention to, things we may want to partner on, et cetera, kind
Not
of.
just Louisville anymore, just
Pardon me?
not just Louisville.
Not just Louisville, but Broomfield, Lafayette.
Yeah, not as formal engagement with Lafayette and Broomfield, but they have, Lafayette's got a lot of information posted on their site. That may or may not be helpful. Yeah.
So in a moment of weakness, Gordon said he'd do that. And I've added it on the agenda as a standing update. Okay, just so we know what's going on. And then
But I wasn't paying attention. Everybody else took a step backwards.
And then Joanne, I'm speaking to you, a draft wildlife management plan, assuming we're going in that direction. Are you game to lead the charge on that?
I am.
Okay. All right. Anything else anybody wants to add, or any of these existing things that people want to jump in and raise their hand as a primary participant?
I would, I had marked in looking at some of the wildfire trail items or Coyote Ridge, but I don't know if there's any real need, so I'd be glad to help out in those things. I'm probably not as much into the wildlife programs, but they seem pretty locked down anyway at this point.
Coyote Ridge is gonna be big because it's not just trails, it's other things too, so.
Yeah.
There's.
Okay, if you take a more active role, if there are 2 of us working in Coyote Ridge, we have to be cognizant of communication rules of emailing back and forth. 3 of us can.
I got reprimanded on that.
Yes.
All
right.
Either way.
We all sin once in a while. Yeah. Okay, you ought to get added to the Coyote Ridge?
Sure.
Okay. All right, anything else? Anyone out online?
Okay. With that, I gotta boogie out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, feel free to reach out, we'll talk soon.
All right,
Yeah,
thank you
thanks,
very
yeah.
much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, Kara, I'm running hopelessly behind. I'm just not admitting it so you don't point it out to me later on. Next item on the agenda, we received via Leslie a suggestion from a
Chainsaw.
town citizen, Matthew Hero, for a chainsaw art corridor going from Rock Creek Parkway up to Indiana Street, involving as many as 20 trees that would be trimmed and carved. And that's probably going to the art advisory board also, but it seems like open space needs to have a position on that proposal.
I'd like to let you know that WET talked about this and we are against tree art on open space. We'd like to see it just limited to parks. There are fewer and fewer old cottonwood trees with wildfire mitigation. We've lost a lot of trees, and WET doesn't think that this is a prudent approach to trees and maintaining the health of the ecosystem around the streams.
What is it?
Kara submitted a good summary online on her position. You want to add anything, Kara?
I don't have anything to add other than this should perhaps be a future agenda item when it comes to art in the open spaces. As it pertains to this particular issue, I'm emphatically against it because of treating open space as if it's a park destination. So no to this, but I do think we should talk about this issue on a future agenda as well when it comes to art.
I agree, Kara. Read through Peter's right up to it. I think also just it's in our charter to protect the wildlife that's in the open space, and having people out there with chainsaws carving up trees is not consistent with our objectives as an open space advisory committee. So that is pretty simple in my view. If they end up cutting trees down and they want to take them somewhere else and carve them up, have at it. But to do it with wildlife, in the balance, it doesn't make any sense, and certainly not consistent with our charter. So
that would be,
it's a big thumbs down.
that would be also aesthetically
And then also
very,
to just jump right back in there. I mean, again, you cannot underscore the value of cottonwood trees, even if they are dead, to the importance of habitat.
Exactly. I agree. So, Leslie, you've been quiet this evening. How does OSAC respond to that comment from Mr. Hero, or do we not? Or is this verbally communicated to you, or do we put something in writing?
I can respond to him and have him watch the video from this meeting if he wants to learn more. But if you want to, as a group, just say you all agree that your position is art's great, but not in open space, especially art that is going to impact, the natural environment and the habitat and the wildlife. So if you want to put together a statement, I'll pass that on. Otherwise, I'll just have the resident, if he wants more information, to go ahead and view the video here.
What's the group want to do? Do you want me to collaborate on that?
I mean, we could summarize it in the meeting minutes, I would think.
Yeah.
It's like as Leslie said,
Yeah.
I feel it's inconsistent with our charter to protect open space and the animals that live on it. So, I mean, I'm not against art, but
No,
it's incongruent.
I think
with
it
our charter.
undervalues the wildlife habitat that's there. Yeah. Okay, so Amber, we'll let you take a first crack at that.
And I think it'd be appropriate to include Kara's comment where she said parks could potentially be a place where they do that, so that we're not saying that it doesn't have any place in town, just not in open space.
Yeah. Okay, next item, and there's a slide. I think there's a slide. We have a vacancy on the board. We're going to get a new member at some point in the next handful of months, I would imagine. In a conversation with Gordon as he was onboarding, but not yet attending, we both had the sense that we would have liked a little more information, both about what the committee does, budget, who we are in particular. I'll speak for myself. I'm still figuring out what people's expertises are and what their backgrounds are and so on. And Gordon's behind the curve relative to me on that one. So this is a list that Rita, Gordon, and I collaborated on as the contents of as a onboarding packet for future members. If you've got additional thoughts on what should go on that list, send them to me. I will. There are two items here that I'd like to call to your attention. The last one, number 12, OSAC acronyms, particularly problematic for us newbies.
Like for open space advisory.
Yes, I started a list. No, Gordon started the list. I added to it.
oh, you're like changing.
I would like to send this out to the committee and have you add more.
What I think would be very helpful is the newbie is some of these acronyms are related to organizations or groups. And I mean, what's the translation? I mean, what does WET mean? But then what does that organization
Do,
do? What are
Well,
they,
that maximum.
why are they?
so
why
what
does it mean?
is the definition of
And
that?
why are they relevant to us?
Yeah.
That would be really handy.
Oh, now you're up at the ante.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not looking for that.
Like vocabulary,
Yeah,
yeah.
Summary description.
I'll help you.
Okay, the second item is item number 10. Item number, no, excuse me, item number 9, a list of member biographies. So, we could use whatever resume or CV or whatever we all submitted to the town when we applied for the jobs, but those are a little sterile, probably. A biography might be a little bit better. Rita and I I adapted one
His was more professional sounding.
from my credit union board. Did I put that on the slide, or did I put it on the slide or not? Oh, yeah, I did. So, a suggested format, would be a homework assignment for everybody. Just a medium-sized paragraph that talked about, residential history, Superior, work experience, educational, kind of optional activities, OSAC membership. I just suggested a third person voice just to make them all the same. Are people game to construct something like that? Is it, or, yeah, we may have something analogous in our other lives. Okay, I will send that out and we'll do in March.
Yeah, and I can even share, like, if you offline, but, examples of what I've seen in other boards that do something similar, not just the write-up, but the expectations, like if you were interested in maybe joining, but you weren't sure what the time commitments were, it's helpful to kind of spell that out a little bit too, for someone. I mean, this might for onboarding, right? But prior to onboarding, it's good to explain to somebody just an estimate of the time commitment involved, like there's X number of meetings per year, you're going to a certain number of events that might be separate from what you're talking about here, but that's a good practice as well.
The pre-onboarding, what the public sees to apply is something I'm not familiar with, but that's part of what's out there. I'll have to look. Okay, if you're game for the little homework assignment, we'll do it for March. And then we'll be ready for whoever joins us. All right, Joanne, I'm gonna turn the floor over to you to summarize the Lafayette Wildlife Management Plan and speak to the advantages of having one in Superior or not.
Right. This all came up in our joint meeting with Louisville, and they mentioned that Lafayette had a town wildlife management plan. And so we started to think, what do we have here in Superior? And we had a wildlife habitat encouragement team got together and with Pari, and we talked about why would you want to do something like this? And it's for the coexistence of the wildlife in light of the urban development and increased population density. It's how we live together. And Pari was telling us that this would be valuable for the town staff and could serve as a reference for residents and town staff about how to answer questions that the staff often gets regarding wildlife. And we would want to be doing this to foster the health of the ecosystem and especially to foster an appreciation and an enjoyment of wildlife for the citizens. And as a sideline to avoid conflicts. And we would include guidelines for avoiding conflicts. And looking over different Broomfields, Lafayette's, they all put it together differently in different formats, and it's on their website. And things that are included are things like how do you educate the citizenry with programs for adults and kids? You would include things like prairie, in education on how prairie dogs contribute to the ecosystem, the rodenticide campaign. And as a sidelight there's a State Bill 26-062, which is going to be coming up for discussion. And there are, you can comment directly to the state on this. I've done that to the 5 people on the committee, and there's a form, and I can send that out so that we can all show our support. We also include things about how do you live with coyotes and bobcats? How do you live with the native and migratory geese? And I think in setting it up, you could reference, and I've done, some searching, and actually the state of Colorado, the CPW, does have a website on living with Canadian geese. So we could either reference these things or, put a little blurb about it. We'd also want to talk about raptors and their contribution to the ecosystem, what it means for Superior to be a bird city. We could have reference pages for living with rabbits, squirrels, voles, skunks, raccoons, snakes, and how do you protect pets, how to keep ponds healthy and control invasive species, and then a section on what's, fishing in Superior, what you can do, what you can't do, information on how do you, if you come across a sick or an injured animal, what do you do? And we'd also want to encourage continued support of wildlife monitoring and raptor monitoring. We'd want to encourage preserving wildlife corridors, preserving trees, and encouragement of wildlife nesting. And there's been, the wildlife encouragement team has gone out and done some nesting projects. All these things would go into a wildlife management plan, or not necessarily even a plan, just guidelines for living with wildlife in Superior. Things to consider, cost. I know that when they outsource big projects like this, it can cost up to $100,000 for a professional group to come in and do this. I don't know if we need all the analysis that a professional group would do, because it could be costly. And they could include a lot of canned material, which, is easy for them to just do it from every other project they've ever done, and you're paying for them to repeat things that, we could paraphrase on our own. It'd be interesting to know what surrounding towns have paid for their plans. And I think that Pari was going to maybe check out what Lafayette paid for theirs. In talking about this, we were concerned that we want this to be a document that doesn't become dated, something that's relevant and can be, sort of a guideline for years to come. But then you have to consider, does our plan jive with what the state has for regulations or what Boulder County has for regulations. So all these things have to be considered. And then we have to think about how does our plan fit into OSAC and Parks' existing plans. And it would take a collaboration of Parks, OSAC, Wildlife Encouragement, the Ranger, Pari, of course, Ashley, I think she's our biologist, and town staff. And when I was brainstorming this, I was wondering, how can we involve the town's communications people? If we did this in pieces, could we involve, communications to help us, format it, make it nice, look at other towns and see how they formatted theirs. Do you do a sidebar with just coyotes, bobcats, injured animals, things like that, and then just, have references. We could include pictures. I think it's open to a lot of possibilities. So I'm just throwing this out to see what everybody thinks and where do we go from here.
I spent a lot of time reviewing that Lafayette plan.
Yeah.
And that was 295 pages.
Yes, it was.
Who's the audience for that? So if I think getting more clear on what's the real purpose, who is the audience for whatever we put together? Are we approaching this as let's identify issues and problems that we should address, and then what are the recommendations to do it? When I read through that Lafayette one, it was really frustrating to me because it felt like just like you said, Joanne, it felt like a consulting company got a big nickel for a lot of boilerplate. And I don't think that's a good idea to do something like that. If the intention is to create something that's meaningful to the community as a whole, it needs to be brief and focused. If this is a reference to people that are on this committee or people that work for the town, then it's a different kind of a thing. But and as the rookie here, I haven't been involved in putting any of these plan documents together for the town. So I don't know what the startup thinking is about. So, what's the end destination supposed to do for us with this document? I think it's a good idea, Joanne.
I think if we have more of guidelines rather than a plan, and just, quick references to different items that people are concerned about. And maybe Pari, you could address what kind of questions do you get and how would this be helpful for you to have some guidelines spelled out?
I think when I came into this role, I definitely filled the gap with the residents on how to find different resources, like to get the help and, questions answered and everything. It's been, I think, frustrating for me sometimes or confusing for residents is guidelines like for, yes, wildlife related things where, fishing is a thing that I just don't know what the right answer is, for that one. Because do I answer it from a town ordinance perspective? Do I answer it from a state perspective? Things like that, because there are a lot of unspoken rules here. And a lot of residents who have that opinion, very strong opinion, like, well, we never done it this way, or we've always done it this way. So I have to kind of find a way to maneuver and talk sense into that, if that makes sense. And it could just be because, yeah, I'm, you know, I'm on my third year here and a lot of people don't know that my role exists or they've never met me. There's a lot of things like that. So I'm still trying to figure out for me, how do I address some things to make it clear for people? There's no clear, we don't really have like, I think we probably have one sign that I know of that's at Bose Pond, like about fishing, no fishing over there. But do we really have signs posted in rules and regulations when it comes to open space or, you know, like I said, fishing in ponds, things like that?
By the way, some people do fish.
Yes, because people do fish there, yeah. So it's like, how do we streamline it where it's clear? Because I get put into these like awkward situations where like, technically, according to state, you shouldn't be fishing if you don't have a fishing license. So like, you know, we've had encounters and I've had animal protection would contact me like, what is your local ordinance? And then it's hard, you know, because I'm just like, I'm gonna leave it up to you because you're the officers who write citations, you know, or do contacts. And according to like state regulations, county regulations, it might be a little different. I found it today with another animal protection officer. So,
hi, Ken and I are leaving.
okay,
So we'll lock that door here.
okay.
Okay, can you get the lights and the alarm and get that door locked in the office?
I can close down, yeah, I can lock down. I don't know about the lights, I don't know how to do that.
On the panel, just hit all off and not all of them go off.
The panels,
In the kitchen.
oh, in the kitchen,
Right.
okay.
Tap on that panel and go for all off. And don't be surprised if some upstairs are still on.
Does Nancy know how to do that too, just in case I need help?
I'll check with her.
Okay, because okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Where was I at? Oh, just, yeah, having a conversation like with, you know, they were asking me too, what is your town ordinance when it comes to dogs? And then, you know, I'm able to delegate that and then they can find ways to support us because they do follow suit with like what we do. If we do things differently, you know, they might change their approach to things. But when I do tell them like, well, we do pass a lot of education stuff about having dogs on leash and staying on trails. We have like, you know, our trail courtesy, we push a lot of stuff. And that's when they're like, okay, I don't really have to educate people because they already know it's the information's there. I just need to just cite them. So then they know how to approach. So there's a lot of confusion. That's what I think that I struggle with. And when I think about the management plan, I feel like it can give clarity to people. I don't know if people will read it.
Well, that's what it
Yeah. Yeah, that's a big one, but you know, I see some benefits. There are some things I feel like we can change that will be more tailored towards Superior, right? Because the things that we do might be different than what Lafayette is doing. And
so this is probably trying to come up with what we want to include and what we don't want to include. This is probably a multi-meeting topic.
Yeah.
I find the Lafayette plan may not even be our best model. You know, they've got almost 4 times the acreage that we have in open space, and a lot of that documented with habitat management and habitat restoration, not of the kind of things that you're talking about.
well, even with like habitat, we don't have buffer rules. We don't, you know, like when I think about other people, like Lafayette, for example, has like an eagle's nest at, where is it, Carolyn Reserve, which is like a fishing area too, and they have like a tree there, yeah, that has a nest that's every season, and they provide that buffer because that you don't want to cause disturbance. Do we necessarily have like rules with buffering in our raptor boxes? No. So because I don't think in the history of like town, I don't think we've ever touched that topic. We talked about HHR, right? Like there's something for that to protect that, but do we have anything for raptor nests? You know, we installed those artificial nests and 2 of them have already been occupied by great hornbills. Like, do we have unspoken rules? I'm like, you know, like, can somebody technically go up and then
So, let me try this out on you, Joanne. What if you and Pari start with a short bulleted list of topics that you think would be beneficial to the town from the citizens' perspective and beneficial to the town from, Pari's role. Start there.
Makes sense.
And then give us time to think on that. And
I think that's a good way to do it. And I think that's more or less what Broomfield did. They've got just certain topics that they've hit on, rather than the extensive, overkill that I think Lafayette did.
I think you just gotta figure out the scope. I think that's the word that we're all talking about, like, it can't be 300 pages when, I mean, I'm also confused because what's our scope within OSAC is different than what Leslie and Ari do, because they have larger responsibilities beyond that, right? So I think we need to figure out this, how big is the bread box, right? Like this is, I don't understand the scope right now. When I look through, I think that we need to clarify that and just bullets, like, these are the things that should be addressed. And some of this stuff is outside or it's documented somewhere else, like on the town website already. So I'm just hearing a lot of different ideas and
Well, I'm just thinking, Joanne, with this item as a task on the assignment list, like I just feel like this is such a big job. I would like to join you in this because I feel like this is a pretty heavy lift, even just the brainstorming of it, but I'm just thinking logistically, like my work days, I don't know, when you would meet or connect with Pari, but I'd love to like help or be supportive in some way.
Oh, thank you. I'd welcome your expertise for sure. And, any of your thoughts. And the people on the Wildlife and Habitat Encouragement team are really, they really want to be involved too and want to, they've got a lot of good ideas and, make valuable contributions.
all right. So coming up with a starter list that we can add to or pare down of topics.
Yeah, we'll work on
a
list of, possible, things that would be of interest to the citizens and that would help the staff in addressing wildlife issues.
Okay. All right. No set timeline. Whenever you're ready, we'll bring it up again.
Okay.
All right. Lightning round. Outstanding updates. Karen, rapper program.
Hi, everyone. In respecting the time on our agenda, I will defer you all to the email that I sent Team OSAC. Some exciting things certainly going on, and our team continues to grow. But yeah,
I was impressed with the number of observations. Coyote Ridge, Mike.
Just very quickly, again, in the interest of time, we're trying to progress our planning stage for Coyote Ridge and what I call like a work plan. So Todd and I have a meeting set up with Leslie later in the week just to kind of brainstorm and talk a little bit more in detail about it. We're excited to move forward, and obviously they were building the parking lot and the initial trail up there. That's the big current event there in Coyote Ridge, but more to come.
Good. Joanne, you want to add anything about wet?
Yes. There was an observation that the goats are eating some of the new trees in Autry Park.
Yes, they certainly are.
And there was a real concern that with wildfire mitigation, we've lost a lot of trees and we can't be losing more trees to feeding goats.
Yes, Rita and I noticed that when we were out collecting trash.
The
The other day,
goats
a
are
lot of the
branching
young,
out.
yeah, a lot
Yeah,
of
just-
the young, cottonwoods. took a
Yeah,
beating.
I can offer a quick update on that. We actually walked all those trees with the goat vendor, and the ones that were left inside the fenced area, those newly planted trees were already dead. So we told them they could continue to nibble on those. We'll have to go back in there with some new tree plantings, but the ones that were still green, they fenced around those. So hopefully those survived. The trees that are established, we went ahead and let them nibble them up to that 6-foot height, which is typically what they can reach because that is our wildfire prescription. So.
Yeah, Rita and I are looking at each other going, gee, we saw a lot of live but barked cottonwoods out at Autry Park. They probably didn't do as good a job of fencing as you had hoped they had done. But you'll walk through if you do some replanting at some point.
Yeah,
Yep.
and where will we slow?
We'll take a look.
Okay, prairie dogs, anything, Amber?
Just that I think probably the plan needs to expand in scope to include the prairie dogs along McCaslin that Leslie was referencing. I think the plan is bigger than just Zaharias.
Yes.
Just to include some of that, so I'll work on that.
Okay. All right, and Gordon, East County.
I sent you all a couple attachments this afternoon that are the work plans from, Lafayette. And they're,
Oh, yeah.
they're fairly similar to kind of ours. I think, that right now, in looking through the agendas of all three, organizations, they're in the, two of them, I think, are in the mode of reevaluating the criteria for judging their open space areas for, you know, under the list of criteria that they use for, okay, where should focus be? But the groups are all reworking their work plans to a degree. You know, I probably sound a little bit like a broken record, but you know, the thing that jumps out to me in the work plans is they're very general and they don't have specific, let's get something done by a given time frame. You know, so here's the issue, here's the action that we want to do to get it completed. And we've talked about that a little bit, and you know, that's I think something that's always kind of helpful if it's completed, but
Especially what you're trying to get.
yeah, you know, I don't want to be rubbing on a sore spot if that's that's what I'm doing either.
I'd like to have more time to look at the Lafayette plan. I know it has some features that we may want to adapt.
Yeah.
Or adopt. Okay, thank you. Under new business roundtable, there is a bill before the state legislature banning rodenticides statewide. It's the organizers asked for individual comments by February 19th. We have the option to bring in the proponent of that legislative action for the March agenda. I had asked Leslie for an opinion on whether OSAC should be weighing in on potential legislation or be asking town council to weigh in on potential legislation. Did you get a chance to get that question answered, Leslie?
I did not, and Mike, you might be able to help out with that, but I think it's in the purview of OSAC to do both. So You can certainly write a position paper and distribute it both to town council. I think that would be very much appreciated, but it can also be forwarded to our representatives or, you know, the sponsors of the bill.
I would agree.
And also individuals can comment. There's a website where individuals can comment.
Yep. That would definitely be appropriate. Are people familiar enough with that legislation to say today whether they want to support it as?
Oh, yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
As a group?
Yeah.
So why don't I collaborate and draft something, circulate it, and probably get it out before our next meeting.
Yeah, I would offer, but I have no ability before that.
I think we've done it through already.
This week.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
all right. I'll take responsibility for getting that started.
Tracy might have, I mean, Tracy Bain might use that.
Actually, the email be sent would be helpful.
And the last thing up that I have is that we've scheduled April 27th for the council OSAC dinner. That's the end of April, and so in March, we'll probably need to be talking about budgets, projects, topics we want to talk about, budget recommendations for the following year. That's our time with council members. That's kind of a heads up. Other items from anyone at the table? Folks online, anything to add? Okay. 8:20, Kara. Let's adjourn the meeting.
We do that.
So moved.
Second. In favor.
Thanks,
Thanks, all.
everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.
Or,